Welcome to Mr. Giant Reacts a Ting and Ting and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant, back with another video, back with another reaction for you. And I've looked at the individual nations in that region. I looked at, well, some of them. I looked at the Croatians, I looked at the Bosnians and the Serbians and stuff. And we're going to take them across the board now. The real reason Balkan nations dominate sports. So let's see what they're going to say. Are they going to say genetics? Are they going to say it's the strive and the struggle that they've been to that harvest that determination? Let's go ahead and YouTube and simmer and see what will go on with this year.
Imagine a region often overshadowed by its tumultuous history, now emerging as a global sports powerhouse. No, we're not talking about traditional sports giants like the US or Brazil. We're talking about the Balkans, a region that's quietly dominating the sports world in ways you wouldn't believe. But what if I told you that the secret to their staggering success isn't just about talent or resources, but something deeply ingrained in their culture, genetics, and national pride? Let's go over this untold story and discover what enables a certain geographical area in southeastern Europe to rewrite the rules of the game. The Balkans have a rich history of sports excellence, and the roots of this prowess can be traced back to the era of communism. During the time of Yugoslavia, the government saw sports as a powerful tool for nation-building and international prestige. The communist regime thus invested heavily in sports infrastructure and training programs, aiming to prove their superiority over capitalist countries. In the former Yugoslavia, football grounds were more than just places for games, they were political arenas. Clubs like Velej Mostar and Železničar Sarajevo rose to prominence and developed close ties with the senior party leadership. The government's focus on sports was not just limited to football. Team sports were promoted as a way of fostering community spirit and equality. This was especially true in basketball, where the Yugoslavian government began investing in the sport after World War II as part of its agenda. The socialist mindset of the Balkans at the time also played a significant role in shaping their sports culture. It cultivated a playing style that would later become known as positionless basketball in Serbia. Unlike in the United States, where players are trained to specialize based on their physical attributes, young athletes in Yugoslavia were trained using the same drills regardless of their height or individual strengths.
Come to think of it, isn't that like the same type of stuff that happened with Cuba? Because think of Cuba had these great boxers, Stevenson, and they actually had some really decent athletes too coming out of there. They had that same sort of structure for the sports. And then let's not talk about East Germany too. The same thing was going on there. So the so-called communist governments foster that sort of idea with sports there. So this is a legitimate sort of argument going on there for that here. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Hey, okay. Let's keep going here. That's
holistic approach to training made Yugoslavian players highly competitive on the international stage, winning numerous Olympic, World Cup, and Eurobasket medals between the 1960s and 1980s. A sport particularly important to mention here is basketball, which in the Balkans is not just a sport, it's a way of life. In Serbia, for instance, the president himself enrolled in a sports college to fulfill his lifelong dream of becoming a basketball coach. This level of commitment from the highest echelons of power highlights the importance of basketball in the region. The Balkans have also produced some of the most accomplished NBA players, such as Nikola Jokic, who is easily the most successful to come out of Serbia. However, his success is not an isolated event. He comes from a long line of great basketball players from former Yugoslavian countries, such as Croatian Drazen Petrovic or Slovenian Luka Doncic. This is a clear indication of the fact that the talent pool in the Balkans is second only to the United States, and this is not a recent phenomenon. However, the breakup of Yugoslavia brought its own set of challenges. The war resulted in sanctions against Yugoslavia, cutting its sports teams off from international competition. Despite these setbacks, the passion for sports didn't wane. People found solace in following Yugoslavian players who were playing abroad, especially in leagues like the NBA. The desire to continue the Yugoslav style of sports lived on, and new organizations like Megabasket in Serbia were set up to develop players' abilities for the long run. Now, while the Balkans' sports prowess can be attributed to various factors, one cannot overlook the role of genetics. The region's unique geographical location at the crossroads of Europe has led to a diverse gene pool which has been suggested to contribute to the physical and athletic capabilities of the people in the Balkans. Although specific studies focusing on Balkan athletes are limited, the broader scientific community has been increasingly looking at the role of genetics in determining athletic ability. Genes related to endurance, strength, and power are being studied, and the results are shocking. For instance, the ACTN3 gene, often referred to as the speed gene, has been found to give sprinters a boost by providing extra power. While it's not definitively proven that Balkan athletes possess a higher frequency of such advantageous genes, the region's athletes often display characteristics like agility, strength, and endurance, which are crucial for sports. In the Balkans, especially in countries like Croatia, the population is notably tall, providing a natural advantage in sports that benefit from height, such as basketball and tennis. Height is a trait that is significantly influenced by genetics, and when coupled with rigorous training, it can be a formidable advantage. This is the basic reason many Croatian tennis players have been able to leverage their height to deliver powerful serves, a critical aspect of the game, but this is not all there is to it. The genetic diversity in the Balkans is also about longevity. Athletes from this region tend to have longer careers compared to their counterparts from other parts of the world, which allows them to accumulate experience and skills over time, making them even more competitive as they age. However, this brings us to the last yet another crucial element that fuels the Balkan sports machine: the intense sense of nationalism and pride deeply ingrained in both athletes and fans. You see, the Balkans have a complex history marked by conflicts, divisions, and a strong sense of nationalism. This emotional backdrop plays a significant role in the sports culture of the region. A recent report highlighted how football hooliganism in the Western Balkans is closely linked to politics, nationalism, and organized crime, especially in countries like Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. Young people join these ultra groups not just for the love of the sport, but because they see it as an opportunity to prove their loyalty to their nation and their community. Contrast this with the attitude of some NBA players in the United States who often decline to play for their national teams. In the Balkans, representing one's country is considered the pinnacle of an athlete's career. Take the example of Luka Modric, the Croatian football maestro. Modric, who has had an illustrious career with Real Madrid, still dons the Croatian jersey with immense pride. Modric plays for Croatia not for fame or money, but purely for the love of his country, and yet he is 38 years old. This emotional fuel is not just about the athletes, but also about the fans who support them. The atmosphere in the stadiums, especially during international matches, is electrifying. Fans see their athletes as heroes who are not just competing in a sport, but are fighting for the honor of their nation. As we've explored the genetic advantages and the cultural influences that have shaped the Balkan countries' sports prowess, let's now zoom in on specific nations that have been making...
Here's something that begs to the national pride thing. I've noticed that Cuba have slowly declined in big sports figures coming out of there, because I think they have sort of strayed from that national sport vibe that they used to have. I remember back in 76 and 84 and stuff, when they went to the Olympics, man, they were dominant in like a lot of stuff. But now there's so many of them who are able to like go pro. You know what I'm saying? So, in boxing and stuff, and baseball, and there's so many of them being able to go pro. It seems like it's diluted the idea of a nationality type thing going on there. So they're not as dominant as they used to be. And as I'm watching this, that's what I was thinking. It used to be, man, you hear about the Cubans are there, they in the Olympics. You know what I mean? You gotta watch out for the Cuban. Gotta watch out for the Cuban boxing team. And I know for a fact that they used to harvest people from a young age into the boxing stuff, with that same fervor of nationalism going on. One of my brothers was a boxer, and he spent like 3 months in Cuba with boxing. and it was just like training young kids, and they were just, that's what they did, you know what I mean? Uh, and it was a way of getting out of poverty to a certain degree, but not to the degree of going to the NBA and making millions and millions. But now they are exposed to that. So it's becoming more individualistic than paying attention to the national sporting part of it. That's just me observing. Let's go back here. Check this vibe out. This is
Making waves in
interesting.
the international sports arena. Croatia, a country with a population of just under 4 million, has been a force to be reckoned with in various sports. In soccer, they've had remarkable achievements, including finishing as the runner-up in the 2018 World Cup and securing the third position in 2022. Croatian club Dinamo Zagreb has also been a breeding ground for talent, ranking as the third best football academy in the world. It has produced stars like Luka Modric, Mateo Kovacic, and Joško Gvardiol, among countless others. But this Croatian football club is not just successful on the field. Ranked 8th in the world in terms of profit from player transfers over the last decade, Dinamo Zagreb has earned a staggering 206.35 million euros from the sale of 309 players. What's even more impressive is that they've achieved this while spending just 60.63 million euros, giving the club a profit of 145.72 million euros. But it's not just soccer where Croatia excels. In basketball, the legacy of Drazen Petrovic lives on with NBA players like Bojan Bogdanovic and Dario Saric. In tennis, Marin Cilic has been a Grand Slam winner. With a career-high ranking of 3rd in the world, he has reached the semi-final stage, or better, at all 4 major tournaments, winning the US Open, while his win-loss record stands at an impressive 582, 328. Croatia's handball team has also been a dominant force, almost always in contention for medals, and even winning every single medal at the Olympics and World Championships. The only medal the Croatian handball team is missing is the European gold. If we were to name all the country's successes, the video would be 30 minutes long. Let's just say that they have been rather dominant in athletics, water polo, skiing, and many others. As we sail away from the Adriatic coast of Croatia, let's navigate towards the Danube to explore another Balkan country that has been equally impressive in the world of sports, Serbia. Their biggest sport representative has to be Novak Djokovic, an undisputed GOAT in the world of tennis that has 24 Grand Slams at the time of the recording, just 2 more than his biggest rival Rafael Nadal and 4 more than people's favorite Roger Federer. I say this because I know he isn't stopping, although being 36 years old. Serbia has been a powerhouse, particularly in basketball. The national team has had a series of successes, and players like Nikola Jokic, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and Boban Marjanovic have made their mark in the NBA. In volleyball, both the men's and women's teams have been dominant. The women's volleyball team in particular has received prestigious awards showcasing the depth of talent in the country. Serbia has also been a force in water polo, with the men's team often being in contention for international titles. But if we broaden our scope, we may find that even the tiny nations in the Balkan region are making a significant impact. Countries like Slovenia, Bosnia, and Montenegro may have smaller populations, but they too have been punching above their weight in sports. Slovenia's Luka Doncic has been a sensation in the NBA, and the country has also been a force in handball and soccer, despite having a population of just 2 million. Bosnia has produced great football players like Edin Dzeko, and has been hopeful for medals in the Winter Olympics. The Bosnian Olympic Committee has been supporting its athletes with significant funding, reflecting the country's commitment to sports. Montenegro, on the other hand, has been focusing on skiing, with athletes like Eldar Salahovic representing the country in slalom and giant slalom events. Even countries like Kosovo and Albania have been making their presence felt. Kosovo admitted to the International Olympic Committee only in 2014, and yet has been represented by skiers in the Winter Olympics. Albania, although represented by a single skier in the Winter Olympics, has been investing in sports infrastructure, especially in skiing, to develop the sport and boost tourism. So the next time you find yourself glued to the screen, witnessing yet another Balkan athlete defy the odds, remember, you're not just watching a game, you're witnessing a chapter in an unfolding epic story that challenges us to rethink what we know about sports, talent, and the indomitable human spirit. If you like the video, please...
See, like I said in one of the other videos, you know what I mean? Sports figures are ambassadors to the country on an international level. how they carry themselves, how they deal with stuff. It would break stereotypes. It would spur people to go investigate these places. I want to say investigate, not in a critical sense of investigating to see what's wrong. Just go see what the culture is like, go see what the people are like, despite whatever type of politics is going on there. Try to discover. Because even me, you know what I mean? I knew about Yugoslavia before, you know what I'm saying? But and what spawned my interest in that in them at the time was the Olympics, seeing them in the Olympics, you know what I mean? And then when the breakup happened and all these little countries and stuff, they start off, a small comparison to other countries, because I'm from a country I could walk it in a one day. We only have 110,000 people on my whole country, the island. You know what I mean? So, yes, Serbia and them is massive to us. But a lot of people would not have known a whole lot about Serbia or Croatia or Bosnia uh, without the athletes that are. Now you hear people every day, people talking about Serbia because of Nikola, or Slovenia because of Luka. You know what I'm saying? And thing, mainstream sports like that is making people figure it out, because look at how many people are going to live there now. Look how many expats are going there, because they're becoming known. They're becoming known because of the. And people might say, no, it's not just sports. They just makes a big play in it. You understand what I'm saying? Because I've seen some of the soccer uh, events and some of the basketball events. It's big, it's huge. So if you move to like a place like Serbia, you could go to an atmosphere that's parallel to the NBA. Not parallel as far as money is concerned, but as far as fan participation is concerned, the fervor that goes on there. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's sort of different from the NBA, where they say they have the most elite athletes and stuff like that. But are you going to miss out anything if you're going to like one of those really crazy basketball games that there in Serbia, or any of the other countries there? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, yeah. Genetics, yeah, it's a combination of everything, when you really sit down and you pay attention to it. And if you come from a country that's been, I hate to see use the word, a poor country or something like that. Sports is huge there, because sports harvests community. Kids get into the street and they play soccer or they play football. On my island, kids would play cricket in the streets, on the beaches, you know. There'd be like pickup games everywhere. You go up to the guide's hut, pick up cricket games. You go up to the presentation college, there's a little field back there, there's pick up football games. You know what I mean? Uh, there's basketball courts everywhere. Well, not everywhere. When I was growing up, it's just like, there was one in on the Caranage. That's where I played a lot before I moved to the southern tip of the island. And there's one right next to the beach where I used to go play a lot. And there was also one right by the police barracks on Back Street, a place that is, I used to call it Back Street. There was another one there. There's fields outside the stadium section where kids would just go play, pick up soccer games. You know what I mean? There's village tournaments that just people in the village organize. You know what I mean? On a Sunday, you just see people say, "Hey, we have this little tournament going on in cricket." So it boosts community. And I think that the governments at the time realized that, so they utilized that. And out of that comes what we have here, you know what I mean? Genetics, I think, play a little role in it. That's true, but I think it's also a mentality, man. You know what I mean? A mentality of pride and where you come from, but a mentality of wanting to be the best as a group of people, which is harvested by the idea of community. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did. Drop a like in the video, comment down below. This was very interesting, very, very interesting. Hey, let's enjoy it. And let's try to bring some peace to this world also, okay? Take care of yourselves, okay?